Let me check my itinerary. Let me make sure I'm at the right place. Okay, let me try one more time. Just, good afternoon, Bloomfield College. Now, as we were getting into this presentation today, we were asked to sing a song, and I heard one voice in the background, and I was thinking, she should have done a solo so we could have been quiet. Let me open up with my quote, and that is, keep your feet moving. You're one step away from positive change. Quitting is a choice you do not have to make. This program started with our history professor teaching us, talking about the emancipation and the things that Abraham Lincoln did and did not do, and what the slaves did do. And one of the things that she failed to mention was that as those slaves were leaving the plantation in droves, there were some that did not leave, right? So the title of my message today is You Are a Chain Breaker. You just need to recognize. Let me say that again. You are a chain breaker. You just need to recognize. See, when we were going through this thing of emancipation and abolitionist movement, and she talked about being the crossroads and how the slaves were freed, can I tell you, they really weren't free? And the reason they weren't free, it wasn't because of the those shackles that were locking and holding them down. It was the mental chains. It's the mental chains that have kept them in their position. Those same mental chains are keeping us in a position today. And it's not black, white, green, red, male, female. Those mental chains are not a recognition of any person, right? So let me tell you about the mental chains. Let me get it away. I'm not a podium person. Let me move this right out of the way. Let me tell you about those mental chains of Dr. Perry. See now, I look all fine today with my nice suit and my nice bow tie from P5 neckwear like that. It's my own collection. But it hadn't always been this way. See, when I was coming up, my parents told me don't make D's and F's. So I made C's. Right? Everybody was happy. I was doing what I needed to do, jumping over that low bar, and my parents would, tell me, hey, don't make those D's and F's, right? So as I was coming through school, I was a C student, and I was completely happy with that. When I got to high school, see, this is for the young people. You need to understand, it doesn't really matter where your journey starts. It's where it processes. And I'm not going to say where your journey ends, because your journey doesn't end till you lie in that casket and it says, there lies such and such. But what we got to talk about is your process. See, Dr. Perry started as a miserable C student. And as I was going through high school, making those C's, running touchdowns every Friday night, everybody was patting me on the back, telling me about a wonderful job I was doing toting that football. But can I tell you, not a single person, not even my high school coach, came to me and said, are you ready to go to college? Have you got all your prerequisites taken care of? Have you taken the SAT? See, my father only went to the 7th grade. My mother graduated high school, so although they knew education was important, they didn't have an understanding of how to establish a foundation to make education important, right? And I forgot to introduce someone. I brought my vice president of, I brought my vice president of marketing with me, Colby Perry. Now he's usually dressed for the occasion. He has his suit, bow tie on as well. But I had to pick him up from kindergarten this morning, so he didn't have time to change. So y'all excuse me when I made his proper time. So, as I'm transitioning from high school to college, I had a dream, a goal, that I was going to get college. The part that I left out was the completion. See, when you go to college, that's just a goal or objective, right? But there's still a piece that's missing. It's called strategy and planning. See, it takes strategy and planning to be a successful college student. Just showing up, that's one milestone. You have to understand that the goal and objective is to complete college. See, Dr. Perry took 7 years to get my first college degree. See, I was on a different kind of program. See, I was on the C program. See, the C program is you do as minimal as you possibly can. You do just enough to get by. So Dr. Perry was dropping classes, not going to classes, showing up the first day without a book, not opening the book. And one of my, life-changing experiences with a class called statistics. See, some of you students have gotten there, some of you haven't. See, Dr. Perry is so glad I'll never have to open up another statistics book in my life. Right? So I go to the statistics class, right? So I go in, I think with my subpar skills, I don't really have to do much, in terms of outside the class. So we come up with this test time. So I go in and I take my test. I come out of there, I always say something. I don't care what's going on with Dr. Perry, I'm gonna have the shoulders held high, roll back the head up high, right? So I take the test and I come out of there and I come back the next day for class, ready for the results. I'm looking for a 95, I get a 55. Did you realize I repeated that process all the way through to an F in the class? Took a couple tests, 95, looking for 95, made 55. So that's the first time I took the class. Second time I took the class. Go in there, we take the test. I was looking for a 95, what did I get? 55. Have you heard this presentation? 55. Oh, listen. You sure you heard me speak before? That's the second time I took the class, right? So now I'm in the drop bad period. I said, I can't be no fool. I cannot make another F in this class. I dropped the class. We signed up for the class the third time. Take the test, I'm looking for a 95. Drop bad period, drop the class. Now I'm at a crossroad. Now I told y'all it took me 7 years to get my first college degree. Now at this time, I'd already been in class school probably about 5.5 years. So I'm at a crossroads. I'm either going to get through this class or I'm going to pack my bags and go back home to Brunswick, Georgia, and either be a longshoreman, work at the Hercules chemical plant, or Brunswick Pulp and Paper Mill. Those were the 3 jobs in my community. Now I had made a decision as a young man, watching my mother work at the chemical plant, at the paper mill, working shift work, and they have a thing called shift work syndrome that I just kind of heard about a few years ago. She was miserable my entire life growing up. I didn't want to do that. My father worked at the chemical plant, and he wore this uniform every day. He came home smelling like a bull. I said, I didn't want to do that. So I knew that education was a key for me to be successful, but I did not have a foundation for that. So now I'm at a crossroads. Do I give up on my vision and dream and pack my bags and come back home? Or do I figure out a way, do I just keep going, right? Do I just keep my feet moving? So I signed up for the class the 4th time. The 4th time, y'all take with me now. Get ready to take my test and do my thing. I'm looking for a 95. Now the professor already said that if you can stay in my class and get to the end of my class, right? Get to the end of my class, and if you could pass the final, you see the final was comprehensive over everything you covered. He said if you could pass my class, the final, I would pass you in the class. So I made a decision. I wasn't going to pack my bag and go home, so I stayed in the class. Another test came, 95, all the way to the final. Now I'm getting ready for the final. It's final. I know this is my last chance. I've got to pass this class, right? So something miraculous happened the night before the test. It was a miracle. I could not believe it that it happened to me. Can anybody guess what happened? Listen, wait a minute. I'm going to have to ask some of you to leave, because you already heard this presentation somewhere. Because it's a magical thing happened the night before the final. I opened the book. Could you believe I had taken this course? This is my 4th time, and I had never opened a book outside of class. For some reason, I thought my subpar study skills, which were 0, they weren't even par, weren't even sub, right? For some reason, I thought that was going to get me through the statistics class. So I studied all night. I studied all night long. I got up when my eyes were bloodshot red. I went in there and did what I always did, right? I went in there, I had my chest up, my chest up, I had my head high. I took that final exam, and see now, you students a new way. See, you can put your social security number in the computer, and them grades pop up. See, I'm old school, we're a mailman. So this particular day, I saw the mail truck, and as I peeked through the window, I looked as the mail truck was going to the mailbox. Because I knew the grades was in there. And I waited for him or her to do her thing. And when they finished and the mail truck drove off, I made my way to the mailbox. It was so slow. Because Lord, I said, oh, this is going to be a life-changing situation. I'll get to the mailbox so long. I get there for long. I was meditating like, Lord, have mercy. This is something serious. I get to the mailbox, I tear it open, and I look. It says statistics C, 80 on the final. Now, y'all a little quiet right now. Let me tell you. Some of y'all understand how grandma used to do at church when she would shout. Might lose a wing, shake a little bit, all that. But let me tell you, I was shouting. I was shouting. I'm telling you, I was shouting because let me tell you something. That is a pivotal point that can change the destination of my life. I did not realize it then, but I knew it was important. And the next semester, I was on the campus. I was talking to one of my partners. He said, hey man, I'm signed up for the statistics class, and the professor was running through everything, and he was telling us about his program. He said, if you can stay in my class and get to the final and pass the final, that you can pass the class. And the professor said, but in all his years of teaching, he has never had anyone to do that, except one time. And guess what I did? I stuck my chest out. I said, he was talking about me. It's important, young people, and some of you old folks too, that you keep pressing through adversity and you figure out how to break that mental chain. See, I hadn't broke my mental chain yet. See, my mental chain was academic confidence. I lacked academic confidence. It wasn't the fact that I wasn't capable. Mentally, I had on chains that said I couldn't do it. And as I began to get through, I graduated in 1992 with my first degree after 7 years. And then I was there so long, I needed 2 more classes to get a second degree. So I figured that if I got into an interview situation with some of you smart folks who go there with y'all 3 2s and 3 4s and 3 8s and all that kind of stuff, it might help my situation if I had 2 degrees with 2.0, both of those 2.0. Against your 1 and 3 5. At least that might get me to the conversation. Because what I knew was if I could get to the interview, you were through. Because I could talk. And I realized early on, son, you gotta learn how to bump them drums because you showed them in them books. Right? So 6 years after graduating college, I was making $100,000 a year in corporate America. And what I realized is what corporate America would do, they would set the goal, and then they would develop a strategy and plan. See, I was always good at goal setting. I knew I was going to do something in my life. I knew I was going to go somewhere. I knew some things would happen for me. I didn't understand strategy and planning. So as I learned this working in corporate America, it affected me in terms of how I began to progress. Right? And so that's how I was able to make it to a 6-figure income. But not only was I able to make it to a 6-figure income, I looked up and I became a patented inventor. See, so when you go to the USPTO.gov website and you put in Alvin S period, see my little patent gonna come up, right? I didn't realize that I could be a published author with 7 titles. I published 7 books. Are any of you familiar with the street doctor that's in Newark? Have you ever seen his book, The Fingerprint? He has a book that he's published. I'm the publisher. I published the street doctor. I didn't know I was capable of doing that, right? I didn't know I was capable of starting a company and doing all the things that I've been able to do. And the last hurdle, the biggest thing that has really just blown me away is I got into a doctoral program. Now, when I got into this doctoral program, I'm telling y'all right now, I was scared, I was terrified, I was full of fear. I mean, any other words you can use to describe putting yourself in a mental chain, that's where I was. I didn't know that I had confidence. Matter of fact, when I was evaluating the process of whether I should even get into a doctoral program, I was wavering. And I called one of my friends, fraternity brothers at home, we were in the same place, and we were talking, and he said, hey, I'm getting ready to start a doctoral program about 3 weeks at Walden University. I said, what? Something came over me. And I said, if he has enough of whatever it is that he can try, because one thing beats a fail is a try, right? I said, if he has enough of whatever it took for him to get into that program, I'm going to do the same thing. And I'll tell you, probably within 3 days, I was in the Walden DBA program. I have a Doctor of Business Administration degree with in entrepreneurship, right? So I get into the doctoral program. I'm nervous, I'm scared, I'm terrified, all those things, and I make an A. I make an A. That was trying to say you can't do it. I make an A. I make an A. And can I tell you, at that moment, I became what I call a mental chain breaker. Because I had an epiphany. And that was, I'm going to be a doctor. I began to believe it wholeheartedly in my soul. I knew at that point it was going to happen. I broke the mental chain of academic confidence and believing that I could actually do something. Can I tell everybody in here, we all have mental chains. Everybody sitting in this room has a mental chain. There's something that you believe that you can't do because your mind is telling you that you can't do it. It's not the fact that you don't have the physical skills. It's not that you don't have the mental capacity, right? You are telling yourself that you can't do that thing. Once I took off the mental chain of academic confidence, I blew through the doctoral program and I made 1B out of the entire program. Can I tell you what that B was? Y'all shit, y'all haven't heard this presentation before. Can I tell you that my nemesis, my old nemesis, reared his or her ugly head, and the only B I made in the entire program was statistics. Now there's one positive out of that whole thing. For the rest of my natural life, I never have to open another statistics book. If I need to hire somebody for statistics work, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you right now, Dr. Perry is not going to open up another statistics book. I don't care what kind of information they have in it. If I need some statistical work to that level, can I tell you I'm going to hire somebody? I'm not going to do that. So I just stopped through here today to tell you that although, there was the emancipation and we had the abolitionist movement and we talked about the crossroads and freeing of the slaves and freeing of, everybody was free, right? And it doesn't matter whether you're black, white, red, orange, green, whatever, male, female. The only person who has the capability and ability to free you is you. You have the ability to free you. I want to just acknowledge one person here. Could you stand up, please, sir? Man. This young man is one of my students let me see, make sure, because you are at William Patterson, right? He's one of my students at William Patterson. And what I have incorporated into my classroom is social media. What we have done is that I have everyone get a Facebook account, they have to have a Twitter account, and they have to have an Instagram account. Now, it doesn't have to be your personal private. You can get a dummy account. Because some of this stuff I don't want to see what y'all do. But this is strictly for the class. And so what I do is at the end of the class, I have them group up, right? And I segment, and they group up, and then they have to discuss what we did in the class. And then they have to start posting on social media. So we have to understand, we have to meet the young people where they are, right? We have to embrace the technology. Everybody talking about social media is a bad thing. Well, yeah, it could be. Anything you do is a bad thing. But let me help you out with something. Can I tell you where I really got the idea to do that? Could you please stand up and listen? This is another one of my students. I had her last semester. So she was sitting in the, you sit down now. Your time is over. I didn't see you break out your camera. Are you missing?
I took a picture.
Oh, you did? Because see, now what he's going to do, he's going to post that. The rest is one of my students that last semester. So she's sitting in the class, the first couple of weeks, she's so quiet, she's not really kind of saying anything. And in my class, what I believe in my teaching philosophy is read, write, and speak. I don't give tests because I teach to the knowledge. I'm not teaching to the test. And so I make all of my students, every class, they have to get up in front of the class and they have to speak. And so the rest of the guys, and she finally went to talking. I have a company, it's Design Moves. I'm a graphic designer. I've been doing such and such and such. I do all this, and I do all this, and do all this. And I tell you, I've hired her. I've hired her, and she's one of my business partners. So we have to, you know, as faculty as well, we have to break our mental chains and what our expectations of these students are, right? You know, we talk about the organizational behavior. We have the X and the Y manager. The X manager just feels like you don't have anything to offer, you have nothing to give, you're managed by intimidation, managed by threats. And then we have the Y manager, right? That's open, communicates, managed by accountability, allow your people to grow, right? So I tell my students that's how we're going to do this class. You have X professors and Y, I'm a Y, right? Because I want you to expand. I want you to break your mental chain of what you think you're capable of doing. Because we all have mental chains, right? So let me close by saying, keep your feet moving. You're one step away from positive change. Quitting is a choice you do not have to make. My name is Doc. Doc, I can tell you, my father died last year. I'm telling you, he'd be so proud right now. And my father had 7th grade education. My grandfather came here from a little country outside of Lisbon, Portugal, with no education. Father had 7th grade education, and I have a doctor's degree, and my oldest son has got his college degree. But I'm Dr. Alvin S. Perry. Thank you for allowing me to service you today. And here's my shameless plug. I am the author of, this is my latest publication, The Circus Act, Unleash the Entrepreneurial Spirit in You. And the premise and the foundation of this book is when many elephants come to the circus, they strap them down and they beat them for weeks and months until they beat the wheel out of them. And so by the time they become full-grown bull elephants, all they do is take a chain and strap it around their leg and put a stake in the ground. And the elephant never goes beyond the length of that chain. Won't even try. Won't even maximize his or her power. Well, that's the same thing that happens to us as adults, right? We have some type of failure, exposure, or experience during the course of our lives, and we don't even try. Can I say this again? We don't even try to maximize who we are and what we're capable and who we have been ordained to become. We have to become mental chain breakers, and this is a tool that teaches that, as a resource that teaches you how to develop systems thinking from a personal perspective, and maximizing who you are, and then actually understanding from a business standpoint how do businesses operate? Because in our society, we're forced to be in one silo, either sales or marketing or finance or human resources or operations or risk management. We're forced to be in one of those silos our whole career. We never get a chance to really cross-train. So it's important in today's society that there's 3 types of employees. The number 1 employee saves the company money and makes the company money. The number 2 employee saves the company money or makes the company money. The number 3 employees just implement what's given to them. So you're the light switch person. All you do is turn the light switch on and off. That's what they told you to do. In today's society, you better be a critical thinker, you better be a problem solver, and you better be somebody who's going to execute. Because if you're not doing those 3 things, you're either not going to get a job or you're not going to stay on your job long.